just mere minutes old, my biological father walked into the hospital room, held me in his arms, and promptly proceeded to return me to my mother, and walked out the door forever. That was the first time I was dumped. Obviously, at mere minutes old, I didn't realize that being dumped would be a reoccurring theme in my life, and one that would propel me to some of the greatest accomplishments to date. The ironically funny thing is that I didn't find this story out until I was 17 years old. It was opening night of a musical, and my mother told me she had to talk to me. I was racing around like a normal teenager. I was running late. So I went tearing down the steps and into our dining room, where I found my mother pacing. My mother was not one for confrontation, so I knew something was pretty important. I was like, "Hey Mom, I really got to get out of here. What's going on?" She's like, "Oh, I got to tell you something. I just don't know how to say it." So finally, to lighten the mood, I jokingly said, "What, are you going to tell me I'm adopted?" To which she stopped dead in her tracks, turned stark white, and said, "How did you know?" I didn't. I guess the joke's on me. You see, my parents were getting divorced, and my mom did not want me to find out that I had been adopted by my father. At that moment, I had a choice to make. I could break down and cry, or I could take a different avenue. I looked at my mom and I said, "Mom, it's totally okay. You guys love me, I love you. Dad loves me, and so do you. We're gonna be all right." Without even really knowing it, over my short 17 years, I had internally adopted this mantra. Today I can, today I will, today I must. That day, my today I can is that I can move forward, I can be happy. My I will was, I am getting to musical, because I had 3 lines to deliver, and let me tell you something, I was going to sing the best ensemble you've ever heard. And my today I must was making sure that my parents knew that I loved them very much, especially my father. He chose to adopt me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. You see, medical professionals talk about adverse life events. How do they shape us? Do we have the right coping mechanisms to have great mental health? At age 13, I found myself in a pickle again. I had such a deep passion for soccer, but unfortunately we didn't have a girls' team in the junior high. I was told over and over again I was never going to play on the boys' team. I had a young man actually show up at my house, hand me a note, and tell me that I would never play on his team. I've never felt such sadness than being dumped by my peers, especially the other girls that love soccer as much as I did. But I had that internal coping mechanism going on. I had it saying, you know, I can play with those boys. I will play with those boys. And I am going to convince the school board that I deserve to play with those boys. I had a handful of people in my corner, but I had 2 very prominent people in my life in my corner. My grandfather, and wonderfully enough, the high school boys soccer coach, Chris Bone. I collected 1,000 signatures and used Title IX and went to the school board. At that point, I didn't even know what Title IX was. I was a 13-year-old, but I did a lot of research. And for that, I am eternally grateful. It wasn't an easy road, but it's one that I am so thankful for. Because being dumped was the key component for me being able to play Division I soccer and walking on as a freshman playing at University of Notre Dame in my very first collegiate soccer game. I went on to play semi-professional soccer, and I even played on the co-ed boys team for many, many years, and I still continue to play today. And the great part is that all those boys on the junior high and high school team all became my brothers. And last month, I actually had one of them drive 5.5 hours from our hometown to our restaurant in Providence, Rhode Island, to have one night to celebrate his anniversary with his wife. And the words he said to me were so impactful. He said, "You were something. You were really impressive in high school." Wow. After 25 years. Wow. You see, Vince Vicente was a gentleman I had met several years ago. He was an unlikely Canadian Olympic speed skier, and he faced lots of adverse life events. He kept getting dumped over and over again. But his coping strategy drove him to his Olympic dream. He couldn't afford to train like normal Olympic athletes, so he decided to tell his friends that he was going to bolt his skis on the top of his hoopty ride that he had, told his friends to drive as fast as they possibly can, and he was going to hold the perfect position. I don't know, in my mind, that's just a little nuts. But Vince always said, seek the uncomfortable. Do what other people aren't willing to do. Boy, I don't know, bolting your skis to the top of a car and driving at 130 miles an hour seems like something nobody else would be willing to do. But that propelled Vince in 4 years from going from a recreational skier to an Olympic athlete and holding many Canadian records. In 1994, it was senior prom, the social event of the year. Don't laugh, I know. It's a pretty good look. I've been dating a boy for about 3.5 years or so, and I was so excited to go to prom. I raced home from our track meet. I hopped through the shower. I got out of the shower. I was doing my hair. My 2 girlfriends came over and I was doing their hair. It was about 2.5 hours before we were scheduled to leave. And my mom looked at me and said, "So honey, what do you want me to do if he doesn't show up?" I said, "Oh, Mom, it's fine. It's good. He'll be here." It's about 2 hours before I picked up the phone, because back then we didn't have cell phones. I called his house. He didn't answer. Okay. So I called where he works. He answered. I said, "Hey, babe, it's just me. Just calling to see what time you're picking me up." Dead silence. His response, "I'm not coming." So all of you that have teenage daughters in this room, I'm just going to tell you, this is a major alert. This is major alert. This is a teenager's adverse life event. You see, even beauty queens get dumped on prom night. But I had that 3-step mantra. I said, okay. So I picked up my phone, I called my friend Matt. The best part was, Matt was one of those 17 brothers that I had on the junior high team. And I said, "Hey, do you want to go to prom tonight?" And he kind of chuckled. I said, "No, I'm being very serious. You want to go to prom tonight?" His mom took him to get a tux. My mom went to go get beautiful white roses. And because I didn't have a car, my aunt let me her cherry red Chevy Cavalier. Yeah, I know, get it. I had to drive because Matt was only in the 10th grade and didn't even have a driver's license. But I had one of the best nights of my life. All because I had a coping strategy to deal with adverse life events. If getting dumped on prom night wasn't enough, I must really have wanted to amp up my mental health game. I'd entered a few pageants over the years, and after about 32 of them, being told that I wasn't tall enough, I wasn't small enough, I wasn't thin enough, I wasn't smart enough, and this one really got me, that I could be a plus-size model. I was only 125 pounds. I was dumped over and over and over again. Let's just say, thank goodness for waterproof mascara. On my 32nd try, I won Miss Delaware USA. Yes, the crown was finally mine. But the best part was that I created friendships that continue to this day. And in my wedding in 2013, Fred Wright stood up on my side as one of my maids of honor. He was the director of Miss Delaware USA. When I arrived at Miss USA, I promised myself that every day I would wake up. I would wake up and I would do my 3-step mantra. I'd say to myself, today I can have an amazing interview. Today I will walk across that stage like I have already won. And today I must find every ounce of confidence from my tippy toes all the way to the last string in my hair. And after 31 prior times of getting dumped, I actually placed 8th in interview at Miss USA, a skill that I honed after being dumped 31 other times. And to this day, I believe that those interview skills are why I have many of the successes I do today. If being dumped 31 times in pageants wasn't enough, auditioning for film and television, let me just tell you, you get dumped 3, 4, 5 times a week, sometimes twice in one day. Oh yeah! A self-induced adverse life event, but one that requires you to have a strong coping mechanism. After another adverse life event, I decided to throw my hat into the ring one last time. I sent an application in for MasterChef USA. I hadn't heard anything back for over a month and a half, and I kind of wrote it off. I received an email stating that I had a preferred audition time. Please bring your signature dish. Oh boy. The great part was that I had gotten a preferred audition time. The bad part was that I was judging my friend's pageant in upstate New York. All right, let's problem solve. So I ran to Target, I bought an electric skillet, I packed all my mise en place, that's what we call all the stuff that you gotta cook. I drove myself up to the Catskills. And if you've ever watched the opening part of Dirty Dancing, that opening scene, that's where I was. It was absolutely gorgeous. That night I went downstairs, I talked to the chef. I said, hey chef, I need the biggest favor of a lifetime. Can you take these 4 bricks at 4 a.m. and put them in your oven as hot as that thing will get? He looked at me like I was crazy. I knew what I was doing. I was creating my own hot box to drive the 2.5 hours from the Catskills all the way into Manhattan to deliver my signature dish. After 3 rounds of interviews that day, and another 3 rounds of interviews after that, I found out on a Friday, I left on a Monday morning to compete for MasterChef USA. I was there for 2.5 months. These 2.5 months changed my life. I met my best friend there. I was in 5 weddings from being on MasterChef. All because of an adverse life event that propelled me to do something, propelled me to do something better for myself. I went on to win MasterChef USA, and now I own one of the premier restaurants outside of Boston. All because of an adverse life event. You see, the Cleveland Clinic and the CDC and the Medical Science Monitor all agree. People who have active coping strategies from adverse life events show better overall mental health. Well, let me just tell you, I got some good mental health. And I'm sure all of you do too. But let's talk a little bit. Let's think about one adverse life event you have going on right now. Visualize it, put it in your brain. It may be something life-changing, it may be something very small. But think about it. Everybody has that in their mind? Now I want you to use my mantra. I want you to just think about how you can, how you will, and how you must. How are you going to change your life? How are you going to change that situation? Are you going to go after that job? Are you going to leave a job? Are you going to move across state? Are you going to move out of your parents' house? Are you going to find peace? Are you going to find happiness? What is it that you need? And how are you going to get there with these 3 steps? So I want everybody to think about I can, I will, I must. Everybody has it in their brain, right? Perfect. So I find that when you say things out loud, you hold yourself accountable and it sticks with you. So I want everybody to give it a little shake in your chair. All right. So on the count of 3, we are all going to shout our 3-step mantra to go after that adverse life event and to change the direction that we want it to go. So on the count of 3, ready? We're going to start off with today I can. Oh, that's beautiful. That's good stuff. I like that. I like the energy. But I need a little bit more. Dig down in there. Today I will. I love it. Oh, we're doing good. All right, but we got to really, this last one, let's get our hands together here. Let's get our energy going. And today I must. Oh, you guys are amazing. Amazing. Now everybody give yourselves a high five. High five. Now when you walk out that door today, I want you to hold yourself accountable and start with that first step of today I can. Because that will propel you to whatever it is that you want to be doing. I stand here before you as the living proof that adverse life events can give you great things. It can be special. But you have to have that coping mechanism in order to get to the next step. Hold yourself accountable and remember that even beauty queens get dumped.